As for what I was told in the home behind closed doors when I was growing up, that's not the most fun trip down memory lane, but I always like to be honest about acknowledging anti-blackness among Asian Americans, especially when the call was coming from my own house, so here we go. I first became aware of my mom's anti-blackness when I started kindergarten, and it mostly centered around avoiding interactions with black people and not allowing me to be exposed to anything that she considered black culture. So if we were walking and she saw a black person, she would pull me closer to her. If we were in the car in a parking lot and saw a black person in the parking lot, she would make a point to lock the doors, and I wasn't allowed to listen to rap or Michael Jackson or Tina Turner. And she was hypocritical about that, because I wasn't allowed to listen to Cyndi Lauper or Madonna either. She would call it trash music and say that it was going to be a bad influence. But if it was a white artist, it was not racialized. It was only when it was black artists that it was racialized. And another thing that I think is kind of typical is, as a musician, there were a lot of black artists whom she respected and enjoyed, but she would always say that one black artist is the exception, the rest are bad influences. When I went to school, if I came home and said I made a friend, her first question would be white or black. And that drove me nuts, because in preschool, I dealt with a lot of bullying and discrimination because of being Asian, so it didn't make sense to me that she wanted me to turn around and do that very same thing to my black classmates, whom she knew nothing about, on the basis of their skin color. And when I wouldn't stay away from my black friends, she would resort to making up justifications as to why it was harmful for me. She would say they're going to hurt me and they're going to be a bad influence because they fight and they swear and they're not good students. And of course, none of that was true. And in my household, it was not physically or emotionally safe to voice your opinions, but about that I would, because it literally angered me. And then she would resort to physical violence. And that sealed the deal in my mind that prejudice is purely irrational, because none of her claims had any basis in reality, and that's why she had to resort to physical force. Unfortunately, I think that when parents resort to intimidation and violence to instill prejudice in their children, a lot of times it works. But I was very lucky, because the principal of my elementary school was a black woman who implemented a program called Students Educating Each Other About Discrimination. And that wasn't centered on racial discrimination, it was about discrimination in general. But in that program, we learned to have discussions about discrimination and to identify it and disrupt it. Which at that age just means if you witness discrimination, say it's discrimination and articulate how you know that it's discrimination. So from learning that very powerful tool at school, I was able to identify that what my mom was doing at home was wrong. Additionally, the principal was a black woman, so I had a black woman in a position of leadership as a role model. And in my school district, she wasn't a token. They really valued black leadership, from teachers to administration, guidance counselors, all the way up to superintendents. And so I was surrounded by black role models who made me see that reality did not line up with what my mom was trying to teach me. The straw that broke the camel's back was sometime around the ages of between 7 and 9. I was planning a birthday party, and I told my mom that I want to invite my friend Keisha, which I knew was going to be an issue, but I thought I would try. And she said no, and I said, fine, then I don't want to have a birthday party, and she made me have the birthday party. So now that felt like that's not only cruel to me, but that's cruel to my friend Keisha, whom you don't even know because you refused to meet her. Shortly after that, we were walking in the mall, and my mom did this thing that she often did, which is she sees black people minding their own business, and under her breath she mumbles a derogatory term in Chinese for black people. And I remember I pulled back on her hand and faced her, and I said, they are not doing anything. You don't know them. The next time you do that, I am going to go up to them and I'm going to tell them what you said. And believe it or not, the fear of exposure by me actually made her tone it down, and she stopped doing that in public. Fortunately, my mom did not live and die that way. In later years, she came around to seeing and later openly admitting how wrong she was. In her older age, one of her best friends really was black, and my mom admitted to her friend what her previous attitudes had been and why. And from those conversations, I was able to gain some insight as to what my mom's motivation was for her anti-blackness. Because I think most people feel, since Asian Americans also are harmed by white supremacy, how does it make any sense for Asian Americans to be anti-black? My mom spent most of her young life in Hong Kong when it was under British occupation, and then in the 1950s, she came to the United States when she was 16 years old. Generations before my mom, her family had been living in and doing business around Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Macau, which were French, British, and Portuguese occupied areas. So she was heavily indoctrinated into anti-blackness in Hong Kong, where she had no exposure to Black people that would have shown her a different reality. And furthermore, what she was indoctrinated into is the idea that an Asian can elevate their status in white spaces by aligning with white supremacy, which includes aligning with anti-Blackness. So I think what my mom was doing with me is that from a young age, she saw that I was having a hard time as an Asian American assimilating. So she felt that if I associated with Black classmates, that would make assimilating into white spaces even harder. And she was concerned that associating with Black classmates would negatively impact my status in white spaces. Well, we all know with me that the outcome was I understand very clearly what spaces I want to be part of and what spaces I don't. So my mom was really proud that she was westernized. She was proud that she spoke English without an accent, that she was very well versed in European culture, and she actually looked down upon my dad for being what she called traditional and therefore backwards. Right, so where was my dad in all of this? My dad grew up in Taiwan, where he had no exposure to Black people, but he also had very little exposure to Western media. I think when he came to the United States, he was a bit uncertain around Black people because of the lack of familiarity and the slight media bias, but it only took a very little being around Black people to see that prejudice is irrational and that it serves a white supremacist agenda that he doesn't want to uphold. As I said before, in my household, it wasn't physically or emotionally safe to voice opinions that differed from my mom, so I do understand why my dad didn't speak up when my mom was being anti-Black. He had a hard enough time keeping my brother and I safe. However, what he would do is when it was just my dad and I, he would make sure to teach me or give me resources about accurate Black history. So for example, a lot of my mom's rhetoric surrounded musicians, so my dad would teach me about Berry Gordy, Chuck Berry, Marian Anderson, Jesse Norman. If the claim was that Black people don't value education, he would tell me about Black scholars, academics, and scientists, and so on. So that, in a nutshell, is what I was told at home behind closed doors.
Question. This actually is a serious question. Why don't you like us Black people? Non-American Asians always gave me the cold shoulder. American Asians were cool, and I often hang out with them. Are they just not used to us?
Partially. Sad
to say, but I know that there's anti-Blackness very much so in a lot of Asian American communities. And obviously, unfortunately, anti-Blackness is global. And I think
it's a very long historical answer.
Yeah.
Some of it has to do with not being used to it. Okay, so colonization happened throughout the whole world when white colonizers took over Asia, Africa, all the other continents. And with that came the belief of anti-Blackness that was instilled upon all of these communities. Now, once those colonizations ended, you were left with this homogenized community where they don't know anyone who don't look like they're all white, all Asian, all South Asian, whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden you fast forward to having technology and Western media, because again, controlled by whiteness, is pushing out this message of that Black communities are gangsters, do this, they do that. And then that media gets pushed out into the world in the form of movies and TV shows. And now you take this homogenized community who has learned anti-Blackness through colonization and stuff like that, on top of the fact that it's then mixed with people who are learning about these races for the first time through fictionalized television that is controlled by white media. And then you have this biased look. So when they meet Black people for the first time, they're having to reconcile what they have been essentially brainwashed into thinking versus then trying to figure out what that means when they meet you and they're like, but you're not any of these things. Which is the reason why you get a lot of people from Asia who are having to go through that discovery, and Asian Americans who grew up with that and know that those are things that are essentially propaganda, mind washing, to keep upholding this idea of And instead of using the WS word, I'm going to say anti-blackness, because one is,
hand in hand,
and they push this anti-blackness, then it's basically global propaganda. So then people are trying to, come to those terms. And instead of just being hateful, they may just not understand.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think that's like the short end of it.
Yeah. I mean, I have nothing to contribute. That was very concise. A lot of people are just conditioned to believe that Black people are whatever the conditioner wants you to believe they are.
Yep.
And, like my grandma, the only Black people she had ever seen were American soldiers in Korea. And to her, they were all part of the same group. And then when she came to America, all she knew about Black people was, like you said, what she had seen on TV, what people had told her. And so she was very distrusting of Black people. And I was like, how many Black people are just like everybody else? Like, I go to school with Black kids, like, and she was just like, oh no, they're very dangerous. I'm like, they're not. This is just what people wanted you to believe. But what else did she know? You know what I mean? She's just this like, country girl from, uneducated, and is told by everybody in power what to believe. My God is better. My people are better. My guns are better. So she's like, okay, well, all of these things are better. So I better side with the better side.
This couldn't be farther from the truth. In fact, our greatest allies have been the Black community. Black and Asian solidarity has a long, long history. And that's not to erase the examples from both sides of intolerance, hate, and violence. But at our best, we've long fought alongside each other, such as Frederick Douglass advocating for Chinese and Japanese immigration in 1869. Or when Henry Turner and Ida B. Wells spoke out on behalf of Filipino freedom fighters. Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King, and many Black protesters condemning the violence and war in Vietnam. Japanese Americans fighting alongside the Black community to repeal the Emergency Detention Act. The powerful relationship between Yuri Kochiyama and Malcolm X. Grace Lee Boggs and her husband James Boggs. Jesse Jackson, the NAACP for Vincent Chin. And the majority of Asian Americans who
Actually, a lot of Black people you'll talk to say they prefer the racism in China over back in the States. They perceive it to be differently because here they see it more as ignorance, whereas in the States it's more like hate. Like people actually hate you and like want to kill you or threaten you violently. But in China it's more like, it's just different. It doesn't seem like they hate you. Especially when I speak Chinese, I can go almost anywhere and talk to people, at least in the places I've been so far, and people will kind of accept me, I guess. I don't know how else to explain that, but they won't be like, oh, get out of my store. They won't follow me around in the store and see if I'm trying to steal something. They won't, like, I don't know, be rude to me. Now, that's not the case for all Black people. Again, I'm the Obama Black, I guess, that Chinese people are more comfortable with. So when you have kind of darker skinned Black people, their experiences are much...
Americans, why y'all don't like us for real?
All right, important question, so I'm going to try to answer it, but not in the way you might think. Because what I'm not going to do is try to answer or justify away anti-Blackness that does exist in the Asian American community. And with what I'm about to say next, I'm not trying to be like, well, but what about you guys? I do want to gently push back against the comment that the Black community rocks with the Asian American community. Because if we're keeping it a buck, the animosity doesn't just go in one direction, it goes both ways. And that's what I want to address. And the way I'm going to do that is by giving context on my community. The Asian American community is made up of people from dozens of different countries that speak dozens of different languages, have different religious beliefs, and believe it or not, the hatred that exists within our community against one another is much stronger. And why is that? Well, maybe because we've been at war with each other for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Now, here's some more context. The majority of our community is first or 1.5 generation immigrants. Why is that important? That means that English is not their first language. American culture is not what they understand, nor do they have a strong grasp or understanding of American history. Now, for many of us who were born here and grew up here, we know about systemic racism. We have seen and experienced firsthand how harmful racism is. And we're taught about the civil rights movement. Granted, it was a whitewashed version, and I didn't actually learn about Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, Yuri Kochiyama, Grace Lee Boggs until I actively sought out that information myself. But that being said, I want to talk about Yuri Kochiyama. A lot of people don't know how close Malcolm X and Yuri Kochiyama were. In fact, in Spike Lee's adaptation of Malcolm X's life, he actually excludes the fact that Malcolm died in Yuri Kochiyama's arms. What's also not taught is the murder of Vincent Chin, and how his story doesn't become a national story if Reverend Jesse Jackson doesn't fly up to Detroit and demand that it becomes a national story. But people also don't know about leaders like Kathy Masayoka, who has been going to Congress year after year to testify using the reparations given to Japanese Americans after internment as justification for why the Black community and Black people deserve reparations too. So how do we fix this? I strongly believe that a lot of this is miscommunication, at least misunderstanding, and that has caused a lot of the pain that exists within our communities. So having dialogue like this, building real relationships in real life, coming together and partnering and actively working to understand one another better, sharing resources and opportunities, showing up for one another, and welcoming one another into our homes. Look, I'm not here to deny that individual Asian Americans have caused a lot of harm towards the Black community, nor am I going to blame the entire Black community for the harm that individuals that are in the Black community have caused towards the Asian American community. But what I am calling for is for us to actively seek to understand each other and work together. Because together we are so powerful, and there's so much love that already exists. I hope this helps.
Let me get this clear. This woman right here, this individual does not represent the Asian community. Her POC card is revoked. She is not a person of color anymore. White people, you can have her. The reason why I'm saying this is because I'm sick and tired of seeing my Asian people in the comments talking about, I apologize on her behalf. I apologize for her behavior. Oh my God, I am so ashamed of being Asian. Shut the fuck up. You shouldn't apologize for someone else, bro. Real shit. Like, she is not even part of our community, so don't even. Why would we let this woman represent our community when she's making us look bad? No, she is not Asian. Period. Another thing I want to say is that two wrongs do not make a right. Just because you've seen this one Asian, I put the quotation marks around the Asian because she's not Asian in my book. Just because you've seen this one Asian lady be racist does not mean you should be racist to all Asian people. This one Asian lady should not represent the Asian community as a whole. That's ridiculous. Do not respond in racism towards Asian people as a whole, bro. You're coming for me who's not racist. You're coming for everybody who's not racist. Every Asian that's not racist. It doesn't make any sense. Like, if you see the comments of this video, you see everybody moving like New York drill rappers if they were racist. They're talking about every Asian shot, every Asian dead, smoking on all Asians. I'm on BT with every Asian. Stop Asian hate, more like go Asian hate. Fuck all the Asians. Like, relax, please. She is not Asian. She does not represent our community. Please. Another point I want to make is that Asian people and Black people should not go against each other. We are both minorities in America. If anything, we should reunite and fight against the system, the unfair system. Tension between the Asian community and the Black community has been here for a very long time. You can clearly see this in the 1992 LA riots. But this is what the media wanted. This is what the government wanted. They want minorities to go against each other. So we should change that and join forces. Like, what are we doing? Imagine how powerful we will be. Like, look at Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker. We should be like these. We should be like them. Like, look at Blasian people, bro. A lot of them love saying I'm Blasian every 5 seconds. They love saying I'm Blasian every sentence that they make. But you know why they do that? It's because they're very proud of being both Black and Asian. They united. Wait, that's a terrible fucking point. That's a bad example. But I think you get what I mean. So the moral of the story is that we should stop racism. Stop. And as minorities in America, we should all unite.
The Asian community is literally so anti-Black, and it literally fucking pisses me off. Like, we are literally so uneducated, uninformed, just misinformed, everything about the Black community, and it pisses me off. And like, it just boggles my mind how a lot of Asians see Black people as beneath them. I shit you not, I literally saw someone on my story and I literally was so gagged. Like, I was like, are you serious right now? And I sent him a message, ask him if he's being serious about this. This guy is Bhutanese. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but like, I guess he got like some kind of spray tan or whatever because he's doing some kind of stupid movie shoot or whatever. Roy posts on his story and says, because his skin is like 10 shades darker or something, he said, can I say the N-word now? With a ninja emoji next to it. I slid up so fucking quick and I asked this man, are you fucking serious right now? And guess what? That man left me on red. Need I say again that he is not black? He is Bhutanese from Bhutan or whatever the fuck you pronounce it. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. Quite honestly, like, the Asian community is literally so underhandedly racist to the black community, and it just, like, not to mention the black community is one of the most supportive of marginalized groups that has ever, like, uplifted the Asian community and actually put effort into supporting us. I'm probably gonna piss a lot of Asians off for saying that, but it's literally the truth, and I fucking see it.
I woke up out of my sleep because this needed to be said. Asians want to be black adjacent with white privilege. And just that thought alone, which is a very true thought, is kind of sickening because, again, I'll never stop speaking on it. They emulate black culture, black aesthetics, everything so heavily in the means of joking or because it's wacky. You know, white people try to say that all the time back in the day. Oh, black people do this wacky, funky stuff. And then hoopla, hoopla, they try to switch it to something else. They try to give it a different name. But it's sad because, again, Asian people know what it's like to experience racism, especially from white people, and to be oppressed by white people. However, they get that bit of what they feel is an amenity and they turn it towards black people. They want to be black adjacent with white privilege. And that's just the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Guys, Africa is fighting again because I said that Nigeria is my favorite country in Africa, and under that video in the comment section, each comment has like hundreds of responses of Africans going at it with each other. And let me tell you something about Africans. They do not mince their words. I know a lot of you think that I'm just a dumb influencer, which I am, but I learn. And I learned from the last time that I tried to defend Nigeria from all of Africa for releasing their beautiful Korean-inspired movie, My Sunshine, which is available on YouTube for free to stream for yourself. And when I tried to intervene, all of Africa, including the Nigerians, came after me. They were like, Chris, you stay out of it. This is a family matter. And I was like, oh, okay. But I do have to say, like, as someone who is not all that sensitive, the words that you share do cut a little deep for me. You know, the words you share are quite sharp. If Americans talk to each other like that, they would cry themselves to sleep and take a mental health break. I do think all the other continents can learn something from Africa. Despite all their squabbles among themselves, they still come together to defend each other. And I wish we could see more of that in other continents. Look at Europe. The more I learn about Europe, the more shocked I am that you guys even managed to form the European Union in the first place, because I don't even know if you guys like each other. And actually, given that one of you left, maybe you don't. And I have long given up on my dreams of seeing the three East Asian countries, Japan, China, and Korea, get along with each other, because that will never happen. That will never happen in our lifetime. Go after China, and Japan and Korea will be the first to step in. You go after Korea, then China and Japan will be the first to step in. And you go after Japan, and China and Korea will be the first to step in. And that one, we can understand, right? You understand, right? Japan? わかってるよね? What I have come to realize is that this triangle of hate that exists between these three countries is actually what brings unity to these three countries. Because while we hate each other, we also love each other for hating each other. So in order to maintain peace among these three countries, we must continue this ongoing hate. Korea, kimchi, is Chinese. China, it's Lunar New Year, not Chinese New Year. Japan?
As a Korean girl, like dating a black guy, what would you say you've learned so far from the foreign culture or the black community culture?
There's definitely a difference in race for sure, because he always says that it's a black thing, but I don't know. And he said, I'm black, like black people don't swim, we're not in the water a lot. He doesn't like the water, but I am an island girl, like I love swimming. And then he also like always says when I want to go out in the summer, he's he's like, oh, I'm black, like black people don't like being in the sun, or when it's cold, like he's like, oh, like I'm black, like we don't like being out when it's cold. His music taste is also different because like even though he's black, I like to listen to like very old R&B songs, and he thinks they're depressing and sad because he listens to like rap and trap music. Other than that, I think maybe hair. I used his hair product and I found out that I was actually naturally wavy hair because because he's black, he has curl cream, like curly hair.
Ask for me. Hi, sweetie. Hi, for you.
I hate this so much. Yes, Chinese people can be racist too. They are human beings. God, we can suck.
So this Asian community and their members, some of their members, the people that you've seen on the videos, they have decided to come up and speak the truth about their community and just say it as it is, raw and unfiltered. Because as we all do this, we are trying, in our hearts, we are trying to make the world a better place for everyone. And I know every other race, they might be having the things they are going through, but our main interest in this case is not everyone else, it is the black community. And the black community for a very long time, they have gone through hell, Like there are those people that you do not need to even have an explanation to understand whatever it is that they are going through. These people were forcefully taken from their land to a foreign land, and then they are being mistreated as if they do not have a home. They have gone through things for 400 or 500 years thereabout, and they are still keeping strong. Now, these Asian boys and girls have decided to come out and speak it as it is. They have talked about how their parents were, and we are not blaming. On this channel, we are not blaming. We are doing three things. We are learning, we are unlearning, and we are relearning. Make sure that that is your aim in this channel, and with that in mind, we are going to go very far. We're going to do things the right way. Now, they have decided that they want to speak it out so that it helps other people who are doing the same thing to realize that it is actually wrong and that they need to stop, and they need to stop it immediately. They have talked about learning this racism thing from their parents. And as we always say, it doesn't start from far, it starts at home. It starts from the people that you interact with. It starts with family and how your family views other people. You had this little girl that time talking about having a birthday party, and she had to invite a black friend who was actually like a best friend, very close, and it meant a lot that that friend be at the birthday party. But this mother is very, very decided on that. She does not want her children to be associated with black people, because black people have been known for those things that we keep mentioning here. They have been known, black community has been known for very wrong things, and the portrayal of the black community out here, be it for the African people or for Asians or Indians, whatever race that someone comes from, they have this, white people have made it a priority to operate in such a manner that they are portraying black people and they portray them in a very bad light. Because if you talk about arrogance, if you talk about violence, if you talk about the rude people, if you talk about the most uncontrolled, unruly kind of people, then you're talking about African Americans. And it's very sad when you finally realize that this is just the system's way of putting them down, the system's way of making sure that they remain there, the system's way of making sure that they never come out of that place and that they never become better. And once everyone else looks at them and thinks that is who they are and that is what they do, then no one is going to want to even associate with them or help them or listen to them. Because once you start interacting with them, then you start having to fear for your life, because you have been told that they are dangerous. You start fearing for your safety because you have been told that these people, if you're not very keen, they will steal from you, they will kill you, they will teach your children some very crooked behaviors that you will not be liking in the end. So these people, in as much as it is sad to hear, we cannot judge them. We are not judging them. We are looking at it from a point of information, and we know that they did that thing because of lack of information and because of the things that they were told. When colonialism was happening, when slavery was happening and all those things, the white community made sure that they portray themselves as the savior, as the godly people, as the ones that understand people, as the helpers. You see, for example, things like the USAID and all those NGOs that are American based, that are in Africa. Those were all schemes to make sure that Africans and all other races in the world see these white people as the superior ones, as the most holy ones, and talk about the missionaries, That just adds up and makes you understand better what they were trying to do. They were trying to put it in people's minds that this is who they are, that they are genuine, they are the nicest people in the world, they are clean, They are on the right side of things. And if you came to a place like, for example, Africa, and you are a white person, the Africans look at you from a point of a clean heart, This is a savior. There's the savior mentality that is very large, and it's so overgrown in Africa that a lot of education is also needed here. The way that black people look at the white people, it's very wanting, because you might find someone that is underqualified than I am. But if I went to a company and asked for a job and there was a white person wanting the same job, trust me, believe me, they will take that white person because of status, They want to also be associated. They are wanting to have proximity to power. That is exactly what they do. They want to feel like, and it's also an achievement. For example, if you found out that I missed that job and a white person got that job, it is almost a source of pride that every time there's job meetings, this white person has to be consulted. It does not matter if they have a degree or they are qualified for whatever job that is. It does not matter that they are better than you or not. They will be the ones that are given the opportunity to say whatever they have to say. It does not matter if it's mediocre, whatever they are thinking. And most often than not, whatever they say might is an understatement. It will be brought to power. It will be brought to work. If a white person says, let's try this, they will try it. Even though that person has zero clue about what they're saying, even though that person is not very, very sure about that thing that they're suggesting, it will be followed. But if a black person said the same thing in the same table, they will ignore it. Do you understand what I'm saying? That these people, the way that they portrayed themselves, it is many, many years later, but that thing is still instilled in people's minds that the white people are superior, the white people know it all, the white people are this and that, and then Africans and other races come second and last. Yeah. So that kind of thing is it's very disturbing. And seeing young people like these ones that we've watched in this video come out and want to speak about it. They want to have a change. They are like pointing out the mistakes. They're even talking to their parents and telling them that we cannot be doing this. We do not have a reason to do this. We cannot go this direction because we cannot judge this person because they have not done anything to us. Until someone is given an opportunity to be a human being, they are given an opportunity to mess up, and then you can judge them. But these people, for a long time, they have just been judging. As long as your skin looks like mine, then you automatically fit in those categories of wrong people. They even ask their children not to interact with other children of color. Children do not have racism in them. They do not know about it. It does not make any sense to a child when you tell them, do not interact with this one because they are a darker skin. It doesn't make sense to them. But once you force it and you keep making it look like these people are dangerous, and you try to make it look like if you continue being with them, you'll be on the wrong side of things, the cops will be after you, you will get into trouble doing all this, they start being afraid. They start, most of the time, you'll not find them questioning and like wanting to fight about it. Most of the time, most children will just know that their parents are right and their parents must know what they're saying. And therefore, they will start behaving the way their parents are behaving. Once they see a black person, they start hiding their pouches, they start hiding their phones, they start being cautious around. They start locking up their cars once a black person passes. Like that's crazy. So I'm happy that more people are coming out to speak about these evils and atrocities. And once we keep talking about this and talking about it and talking about it even more, things will be different. I am sure about that. It will be different. And this learning should never stop. Anyone that says we should stop interacting and talking about these things and letting out what we feel about whatever is happening in the society today, that is someone that wants you to remain in the same position. Anyone that wants you to proceed and do better in life and be open to a lot of other things and to make this society a better place at large, they will encourage you to keep educating yourself on these things and seeking more knowledge, seeking more information. So guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you've learned a thing or two. I enjoyed making the video because then it is one of those videos that are encouraging, because you realize that there are people that are at least getting something and they're learning, and they're unlearning and they're also relearning. So guys, if you love this video, give it a thumbs up. If you love it a little bit too much, you know what to do. Yeah, go give it if you like the video a little bit too much, you know what to do. Do exactly what you can. It's right there under the comment section. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about these videos. Let us know what you think about the Asian people, the other races. How have they treated you in the past? How have they made you feel in the past? So guys, give me a super thanks if you like, and keep safe. Make sure that you're looking out for each other, and I will see you on my next video. Bye for now.